Hello, hello, and welcome to another episode of Knit Your Stress Away. I am Nadine, and I'm the host here on the podcast. And today we're talking about your nervous system. Not in a boring way, but in a really exciting way, because I want to explain about the nervous system in a way that actually makes sense for real life. Like why you can be sitting on your couch at 9:30 at night, technically resting, quote unquote, but still feel completely wired, overstimulated, and your brain just won't shut up. Let's get into it. Welcome to Knit Your Stress Away, the podcast for moms who want to knit instead of scroll. I'm Nadine, and I help overwhelmed moms swap doom scrolling for knitting so you can finally have 20 minutes of peace that don't involve a screen. Whether you're brand new to knitting or getting back into it after years away, this show will teach you how to use knitting as a tool to calm your nervous system, set boundaries with your phone, and reclaim time for yourself without the guilt. No fancy techniques, no complicated patterns, just some practical tips, real talk about stress and motherhood, and simple ways to make knitting a part of your everyday life. So put down the phone, grab your needles, and let's knit the stress away, one stitch at a time. All right, let's talk about stress and the nervous system. The thing is that a lot of us think that stress is just simply having too much on our plate, right? Like we have too much to do and that stresses us out. But stress is also what's happening inside your body when it never really gets the signal that it is safe to power down and that it's safe to just relax. Stress can show up in different ways, and actually not every type of stress is actually bad. So just as a side note here, when you work out and when you lift weights, for example, you are actually putting your body under an amount of stress as well, but that one has positive effects. But the kind of stress we're talking about here will actually keep your nervous system and your cortisol on a level that is unhealthy in the long run. So let's talk about what is actually happening inside the body and how we can help the body signal this safety of relaxing and powering down, right? Once we understand that, we will also understand why scrolling on your phone doesn't actually relax you, even though you're sitting on your couch or you're laying on your couch or you're sitting at your kitchen island and are scrolling. You're not running a marathon. You're not running from place to place to place, right? But let's talk about why a hobby like knitting can actually relax you versus the scrolling habit. Let's break it down. So your nervous system is basically your body's communication network. It is constantly scanning, am I safe? Do I need to gear up? Or can I relax now? And one of the biggest players is your what's called autonomic nervous system, which has two big modes that we're going to focus on today. We talked about this in a previous episode, but it's really cool information, and I like to bring it up again in case you missed it, but also because I love talking about it and I love the reminder. So mode 1, sympathetic. That is your fight or flight mode. Again, nervous system is constantly scanning, what state are we currently in? Like, what do we got to do? Do we have to run away, or can we just chill out right now? But the fight or flight mode is the mode that gets activated when your body senses any kind of stress. Your heart rate can go up. Your muscles might tense up, your brain gets more alert, the stress hormones like cortisol actually spike or at least go up. And again, in some instances, that is a needed thing. For example, in the morning when you first get up, cortisol generally has a little bit of a spike so that you actually can get going and you can get up, right? The second mode that your nervous system can be in, mode 2, is called the parasympathetic. And that is the rest and digest mode. That's the side that helps your body slow down, recover, digest food, and settle. Neither one of them is bad. Like I just mentioned, you do need both, but every one of them has its place. You need the sympathetic mode to get through a hard conversation, to slam on the brakes in traffic or when there's a red light, deal with a child that is melting down in Target, or when you have to meet a deadline, or when you're working out, right? But the problem is that a lot of us are living there. We are constantly in the sympathetic mode, and we are constantly having a cortisol overload, which is keeping us in a stress response. And what also happens when we are in that stress response or when we are in the sympathetic mode of our nervous system is that certain body systems are quite literally shutting down, like they're on the back burner. Your digestive system is deemed to not be necessary in those moments because we can digest stuff later. We need to fight for our lives here. That's like the primal, response of your body. And therefore, certain things are just not functioning as well. And if that happens over the course of days, weeks, or months, you can imagine what kind of a effect that actually has on our bodies and on our health in the long run, right? But again, because of today's stressors and then all the news that are coming at us and social media comparison, like all this stuff, being a mom, huge factor. A lot of us are just kind of staying in the sympathetic mode of our nervous system and in the fight or flight response or mode, right? And it has nothing to do with us being weak or not having like the willpower or doing anything wrong. It is just because modern life is one long string of activations, right? Stimulations that are just coming at us non-stop. Imagine or think about the notifications that you have on your phone. Any news, maybe good news, won't do this. But when was the last time you saw any good news in the news? Seriously. Multitasking. We're trying to get all these things done at the same time in order to save time, which really, for most of us, at least for me, has the opposite effect. Multitasking, not really all that great for me. But our mental load is like always overloaded. We're always available and we're always consuming. So your body doesn't always know the difference between I'm being chased by a bear or I just got 3 text message, a bill is overdue and a school email is from 3 days ago and I forgot to reply to it. So all of those, they have that same effect on our body in the sense of the stress response, but not all of them are equally scary or important, right? But the body responds that way nonetheless. So if you ever thought, why the heck am I always feeling like I'm on edge and I'm like wiry, right? This might be part of it. So just think about it. And a lot of us moms, we're not having one giant stressful event. It's not one thing that makes us feel this way. We're having 900 emergencies, small emergencies happening all day long, right? You wake up, you're already feeling behind. You check your phone before your feet even hit the floor, right? You're already responding to things before you have even taken care of yourself. Then you have your kids who are coming at you. They need stuff. They need to be fed. They need to get ready for school. They need to pack their backpacks or whatever else, right? We're managing that. Then you have work. You got housework, appointments, grocery lists. You got to cook food. You got to buy food. The mental list of things in your brain doesn't end. It literally doesn't end unless you take control and say, okay, we can end this, right? At night, you finally sit down and think, okay, I'm going to relax now because it's time. It's time to relax. But then guess what? Most of us, we open our phones. And what do we get? More stimulation, more information, more emotional input, and more reasons for your body to just stay alert and not power down. So even though you're physically sitting still, or even laying down, you may be laying down and scrolling your phone, but your nervous system is still activated. That's why, quote unquote, rest doesn't always feel restful. Laying on the couch while your brain is getting hit with constant novelty isn't the same as giving your body an actual cue that it can soften, that it can relax, that it can power down, that it can let go of that to-do list. When I open my Instagram, I am literally immediately sucked into something. It's 90% of the time these days, it's the news. Other times it's someone doing something that I want to do. It creates comparison and it doesn't make me feel good, right? But let me be clear. I'm not saying that phones are evil. I am definitely not telling you to ditch your phone entirely. I am saying, though, that if the thing you do every night leaves you more wired, more anxious, or strangely drained and just exhausted, it might not actually be helping. So again, we have phones for a lot of useful things. And to be honest, sometimes I wish there were less things on my phone just so that I don't have to do certain things on my phone. You know what I mean? Like, I find it extremely convenient for writing a not a to-do list, a grocery list. And I have come to getting used to, as soon as something is empty in my pantry or in my fridge, I either tell my watch or I tell my phone, hey, add this to my whatever grocery list. And I find it insanely convenient because then all I have to do next time I go to that store, pull up the list for that store, and I have all this stuff right there. But there are times when I wish that I didn't have to do that. At the same time, obviously, I could write my list, but then I'll lose it and I won't have it with me when I go to the store. So yes, there's a certain convenience piece to that. And of course, there are many other things that I use my phone for that, that I find useful and enriching. But again, certain things on that phone we do because we're used to it, because our brain is in that loop of, we need another stimulation, we need more, and it just doesn't serve us. So guess what? This is where knitting comes in. Yes, knitting gives your hands something repetitive, something rhythmic to do, and it's not passive. You're doing it, you're actively doing it, but it isn't demanding, and it also isn't giving you that stimulation that your brain has to take in and has to process. It's not like that. It's giving you a repetitive motion. It's a hands-on activity that can actually help shift your attention, reduce the overstimulation. It's an antidote to it, and it can support a calmer state of your brain, of your nervous system, of your entire being. And what I find so insanely fascinating and amazing is that there is growing evidence that craft-based activities can support mood and well-being. And there might have to be some more studies done on this, but I find why that's happening. But I just find it fascinating and also amazing that they have at least been confirming that these habits and these activities are definitely good for our mental health, good for our entire body, and just for our physical health as well. As we talked about earlier, when that cortisol is spiking constantly and you're constantly dealing with that, it wreaks havoc on your system. So having this hobby that you can just pick up whenever and just ditch the phone for just a little while, it can actually be improving your physical health, not just your mental health. And for me, knitting it feels like a bridge. It helps me move from noisy, busy, buzzing, right? The reactive part of my day, which certainly is, it's a big part of my day. It's go, go, go all day long. But then we can transition into something slower. And if you have the chance to use it not just at night, but also take a 5 to 10 minute knitting break in between, somewhere where you have a few minutes in the middle of your day, instead of reaching for your phone, you're not going to miss anything. You're really not. I mean, that's another thing, right? We have this fear of missing something if we don't grab that phone. Leave it. We didn't even used to have those. And we were totally fine. I was just talking to my oldest daughter about that because the 90s keep coming up, right? The 90s keep coming up, and she was asking about my first phone and told her about that big clunk of whatever the heck that even was. Plastic? Guess. It was heavy and it was ugly. But even then, it texted and it made phone calls. I don't think it did anything else. At least mine didn't. And we were totally fine, right? But it just gives us, so the knitting practice, or if you crochet, it's just as awesome. It gives us something steady, and it tells our bodies, hey, you can take a quick break from the sprinting. You don't have to keep sprinting. And I feel like that is the real goal here, right? Is not to do something perfectly, not to feel like you have to be productive in those moments. And honestly, you don't even have to be good at it. Like, I am not perfect at knitting. I make mistakes. I'm proud of those mistakes. And it's fine. It is fine because all you're doing is giving your nervous system a different cue. A cue to slow down versus a cue to be more stimulated and just mentally adding more things to our list. Because that's really what's happening when you're on that phone. There is always something else that gets triggered, either something else you need to do, something else you need to remember, something else that you need to add to the list of things you got to achieve in life because someone else has just done that and you just watched it on a reel. Just get away from that for just a moment, right? And slow it down. Give your hands something to do and give that brain a break. So here's what I want you to start noticing this week. What does the stress feel like in your body? If you really are looking inward a little bit, just for a minute, right? So for me personally, it's usually kind of like a tightness in the chest. It can also feel like my jaw is clenching. I tend to just kind of, really tighten my jaw up. I also always feel like my shoulders are coming up into my ears. And when I don't even notice that, but when I have a moment where I'm like, you know what, just take a breath, just take a quick breath. And I take that breath and it's literally like my shoulders are dropping. Like they drop like an inch. It's amazing. Shallow breathing can be a sign, right? Or just kind of like almost like holding your breath. And it's that feeling where you're tired, but you're also restless. So those are all stress like indicators. Maybe for you, it's you snap at your kids faster or you reach for your phone without even thinking about it. That happens to a lot of us, honestly. Or, and this is a big one, I think, for a lot of us, is just this feeling like you can't just sit there and do nothing. And I try to talk to my kids about that often because kids who are growing up in these times with all the stimulation, like I feel like they don't even know what it's like anymore to not do something, to just sit there and look around and be bored. Everyone who grew up in the 90s or even a little bit after that know exactly what that feels like. And we need to give our brain that white space sometimes. So gather that information, just kind of feel into it. Like, what does stress show up like for you in your body? And what are the things that you actually do? And what helps your body soften? Like, not what should help, not what someone else told you should help, or what is the perfect self-care routine or any of that. What actually does help you feel a little bit more grounded? Like I said earlier, for me, it's like taking that deep breath and I notice my shoulders are dropping, right? Maybe for you, it's making a cup of tea. Gosh, actually, that's another one for me. I had my tea here. It's empty now. I'm going to make another one and I already look forward to it. So just like find little things that are making you feel a little less stressed. Maybe it's 15 minutes of knitting. Maybe you're brand new to knitting and you've listened to this podcast for this long and you're like, okay, I'm ready to start. I got you. But maybe that's what you think might help you, right? Maybe it's putting your phone in another room and picking up a simple knitting project after your kids go to sleep. Remember, you do not need an hour, right? It doesn't have to be perfect. And you do not have to change. All you need to do is interrupt that pattern of grabbing your phone and feeling more stimulated. Okay? That's all it is. It's really, so don't overthink it. Don't overthink it. So here's the takeaway for this episode. And I hope you got something out of this. And I hope that you are inspired today to grab your knitting project. And if you're new and you don't even know how to knit yet, but you're like, oh, yes, this sounds lovely. It sounds heavenly. I got you covered. You can go to the show notes. You can click the link in the show notes or go to theknittingmamas.com and you can download your Swap Scrolling for Stitching 3-day reset where I teach you how to knit. I tell you what you need to buy so that you have the right supplies to get started and hit the ground running. And it also helps you find the time in your day where you can just work little pockets of time in to actually cultivate the stitching habit and sort of get rid of the scrolling habit, right? So the takeaway for this episode, if you feel stressed all the time, it isn't because you're failing at rest. It may be because your nervous system hasn't gotten enough real signals for you to feel safe to slow down. And that is exactly why knitting can be so powerful. It's not because it's a cute little habit, right? But it is because your body actually gets a chance to slow down when you knit. Next week, we're going to talk about something really fun. It's called flow state. And I'm going to talk all about why knitting feels so ridiculously good once you get really into it. And yes, there may be a bit of a learning curve for those of you who are new or returning to it, like me. After, 15, 20 years, I returned to knitting, and it can take a hot second to get back into it. But once you're there and it's the repetitive motion, it feels so amazing. So we're going to talk about all that in the next episode. And if you are ready to replace some of your nighttime scrolling or daytime, whatever, with something that actually helps you breathe, you can grab that guide that I just mentioned, Swap Scrolling for Stitching. You can get it at thenittingmamas.com. And once again, if you are new to knitting, or if you're a returning knitter who's like, yep, got no supplies, I don't know where to start, I don't even remember how to do this, I got you in there. You have a knitting lingo glossary. You have all the tools that you need, including links. And you have at thenittingmamas.com is also my YouTube playlist for all the basics of knitting as a beginner. So I think you're ready. And again, if you are already a knitter, you may already know all these things, but hey, there's nothing wrong with a reminder every once and again as to why we pick up that pattern or the project, and knowing exactly why it makes you feel so good. And maybe you are a knitter and you love doing it, but you never make the time for it. So either way, I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're enjoying these episodes. Share them with a friend if you feel like that's something you want to do. And thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate it, and I will see you next week. Thanks for listening to today's episode. If you're ready to swap your screen time for some peace, I made you a free guide called Swap Scrolling for Stitching. It'll teach you what to buy, how to start, and how to build the habit, even if you've never touched needles before. And if you already knit or crochet, this will help you build that habit into your life consistently. Link is in the show notes. And if this episode resonated with you, I would love it if you'd leave a quick review. This helps other stressed moms find the show and discover that there's a better way to unwind than scrolling Instagram at 10 p.m. Follow me on Instagram at thenittingmamas_ for daily tips, and I'll see you next week for another episode.